Speaking freedom, giving you the answers to be free. Be free.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's performance is about to begin.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's show on Speaking Freedom TV. Today we are talking about Journey to Freedom with our special guest, Daniel. Hey Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
About myself, I'm what you would refer to, as I refer to, as a spirit medium. I see what we would think are dead people. I just see spirit everywhere, 24/7. It never goes away. It never turns off. But I don't just see people. I see dogs, cats, horses, cows, fish. I see everything that you can ever imagine that has passed away, and I see a lot of things that have passed away that are not from this world as well. So I see lots of things all the time, and then again, it never turns off, never goes away. I see them all day, all night, and I see a lot more of them when I close my eyes.
So when you saw the request for guests, what made you want to be in a journey of freedom? What freedom story are you here to tell us today?
Well, the freedom part of it is at some point you have to learn to accept yourself. And it's hard to do in this world because within this world, we're always being told you have to be, you have to weigh this much, or you have to look like this, you have to look like that. It's all about for the world teaching you you're unacceptable to everyone else in the world, and you have to learn to not listen to them and not listen to what they tell you. You know, the big they, and learn to accept yourself for who you are. And that was a big thing for me when I first found out that I was a medium. And in a sense, I equated to like being coming out of the closet because I was letting everybody know this is who I am, this is what I do. And at that point, when I did that, people looked at me differently. They treated me differently. They would act differently around me because now they know that this is who I am. Now they're just going to take it differently than the person I used to be. So, like I said, that's why it's part of coming to the point where you have to say, you know what, I'm just going to be me. I don't I don't need to be perfect for everyone else. I just need to be good with me. So and that's a journey in itself. Accepting yourself and accepting everything about you that yeah, maybe I do have some flaws, but maybe they're just flaws in your eyes, not in mine.
Right.
This is just me and who I am. So, hey world, you're going to have to learn to deal with me. I have dealt with everyone else for the past 56 years. Now you're going to have to see what I have to offer, and maybe that offering that I'm giving you is going to be something that could help some of you. But everyone else, if you don't like me for what I do, okay.
That's
That
fine.
doesn't
Right.
mean you need to call me something or try to put me down because I don't fit into your ideology of what you think is okay.
So how
So
did you come to your discovery of your gift as a medium?
I have always seen spirit ever since I was 3 years old. My whole family did. We were seeing them because we lived in a town in New Jersey, and in that town there was a battlefield, so where the Hessians fought, and so there was a hospital there. So there was a lot of the homes in that area. People were seeing things, but we were seeing them quite often all the time in our home. But it wasn't until I was around 17 or 18 where my parents and I and my one brother moved from New Jersey to Delaware. But I was the only one who was continuing to see and hear and feel things all the time. And then it was just going on throughout the rest of my life in my teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. And then it was right before I turned 50 years old is when I started seeing a whole heck of a lot more than I normally see. And I figured something's got to be up with that. So I tried to seek out some help. And when I did, I found out I was more than I thought I was or knew that I was. And so it was eye opening for sure.
As a person who is very intuitive, that I have very vivid dreams and I see things and sometimes those things happen. Same with my child.
Oh, well, that's because you're clairvoyant.
Right, both. My son, you just gave me chills when you said that. My son more
How do you think
than
I would know that?
I mean, you supposed
Because
to
they
know.
told it to me. Because they touch
Uh
my, because I get touched on my face from them. This is a yes and this is a no. And so in my mind, they told me clairvoyant. And then I asked them, did you just say clairvoyant? And then they touched my face for yes.
so my son is clairvoyant also. And so I understand the for me it was more of a
He's more than that.
registering. Hmm.
He's more than just clairvoyant.
So what else?
He has what I have, sort of.
I could believe that, and
He needs to
I
develop. He needs, how old is he?
he just turned 14.
Yeah, he needs to develop it.
How do you go about developing that?
What I did is I started looking online. I started trying to find other people like me. I ended up meeting, my first year was very kind of lonely where couldn't find anybody. I was just always trying to get information. And then I hooked up with a woman who had an intuition group. And so I went to that first, and then she was putting together a group of mediums, and she invited me to go there. But when I got there, everyone there was a professional medium except for me. And so when I got into the group, I first came in, walked in the door, and I was like, "Hey, my name's," and all of a sudden they were all like, "Oh my God, your energy! Oh my God!" They were like freaked out by the energy, but there's an answer to that later. So it just freaked them out, and then being with that group for about a year and a couple of months, they helped me to develop that. They gave me tips to work on and things like that, and that's what he should really do because. But the bigger part of that is, does he want to? See, if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can
I
just, push it away, but why not use it and do like I do? I help people every day. Bring them I bring them peace of mind. I give them clarity. I give them direction. And it's a natural thing that you have it. As I always say, everyone comes into this world. We have it,
gifts,
but
yeah,
not
all
everyone is
types
meant.
of gifts.
Yeah, not everyone's meant to keep it though, because
Hmm.
again, you wake up in a baby body and you're going, what? And your mom and
Hmm.
dad's going, I'm your mom and dad. And you're going, I don't know who the hell you are, but okay.
Right.
And then they raise you and then they teach you the ways of the world. And when they do that, a lot of it gets washed away because we get taught all these lies and bull crap and all this stuff and
And
fear and all that
I
stuff. So,
I think that that is for the most part what happened to me because I remember having dreams for a very very long time and I didn't always understand it. Then for a long time I figured that everybody, if I was having dreams like this, everybody must be having dreams
no,
like this.
only about what I have. I mean, I got something different than every medium on the face of this earth. No one, I have something no one has because it only has to be one. But as far as having this type of ability and stuff like that, only 10% of the population, and there's 7.5 billion of us, so it's not really a lot.
Is that because of conditioning and like religious ideology or is that just
No,
um
some of us are meant to be teachers, others are just meant to be students. That's it.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what has been the hardest thing that you had a time adjusting to or getting free from in your journey? And how did you conquer that?
Trusting myself.
Oh yes, true.
Trusting myself became a big deal because I was getting answers before I knew I was getting answers.
Mhm.
And like when I found out they touched my face for yes and no answers. When I first found that out, it was another medium who told me that. And for the longest time, because I didn't know what was going on, I thought I just had a bug on my face. I kept going, what's on my face? Get off my face. But it's not. It's them touching me for yes and no answers. And like I said, I get a touch here like this. That's yes, and then I got one answer for no. It feels like a tear running down my face. And if it's a super big no, I get two of them at the same time. But in the very beginning, it was just two yes answers here. Now it's 43. And I'm being touched by what we refer to as archangels. They're not men with wings. They don't have a shield and a sword. They're not fighting battle with heaven. And that they touch me, and I know exactly who's touching me at the time. So it's 43 different names. But this was a big deal to trust that information when the information came in, because now in the very beginning I would get an answer when I found out I was this. I'd get an answer maybe 5% of the time. I would get something once in a while would come in. Now I was always getting the yes and no answers, but I had to took me a time to figure that out, which one was yes and which one was no. Just did that by trial and error type thing, asking them questions. But in the very beginning, like I said, I was only getting the answers maybe 5% of the time. Now it's
Yeah.
85% of the time. My own thoughts are no longer mine anymore. I'm about 85% them. And I mean archangels and 15% me. And that's constantly changing. I remember the time when it actually changed from 80% to 85%. That the change was so drastic to me and my body. I was with my wife and we thought that I was having a stroke. That's how intense it got. So, and then I would kind of like came out of it and I was like, oh. And she said, what? I said, I'm no longer 80%. I'm 85. So yeah, but it's but learning to trust that. But when I say trust, I can see my guides next to me all the time. I see they look like, if you see somebody smoking a cigarette, little petals come off the cigarette. That's what it looks like. Okay. And I see that all next to me. It's right here when I'm looking at you. So I'll be riding down the street on my motorcycle and I'll say, and I'll say it in my mind, I'm going to take this right-hand turn. I get, no. You want me to take the next one? Yes. So you know what I do? I take the next
Take
one.
the next one.
You know what was going to happen at the other one? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
They're looking out for my best interests. So I follow that, and I follow that every single day. I mean, there was a time when one day it was a beautiful day outside and I wanted to go ride my motorcycle. No. Well, can I go later on this afternoon? No. Maybe for a night ride? No. So you don't want me to go at all today? No. So I sat home. Because I do everything they tell me to do. I follow through with everything they tell me to do. And because I do that, it was 4 years ago, I asked them a question and they said I would never get into another car accident again as long as I pay attention to what they do and listen to them, follow through and trust it. So I do.
So by the end of the conversation, I would like to know, because I believe that during the course of this conversation, the angels and archangels will give you a message for me. I believe that every connection and every conversation is divine. I don't think that we come across anybody just by chance. For me, whenever I feel I get the hairs on my arms will stand up. I get chills when something is coming very strong for me. But I also I see a lot of shadows a lot of times, and I kind of talk to the spirits that I believe are in my home, and I always tell them, like, I don't mind you being here. Just don't try to scare me or make me feel any type of way. So it's very good for my development to have this conversation with you.
And now I know why. That's why I was pulling my head off to the side, because I was talking to them, asking.
Okay, I want to know
I
why.
I could still hear what you were saying, but I was having another conversation.
I want to know. I want in on the conversation.
Do you want to wait till the end? Or do you want to do it now?
As it comes to you, you can give
I
it
can
to
tell you
me
right
or
now.
whatever is best for you.
Because you have it too.
Huh?
You don't just see things just for no reason.
I just don't understand it, and I don't know. I am at this point unsure how to
You're 1 foot
embrace
in.
it.
You're 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You haven't made the step. You haven't made the crossover to being a medium.
So what is the step?
You're going to have a sit down talk and talk to God. Seriously. Really. And you have to be completely honest that you either want to move forward with this or you don't. Because if you don't think you're ready for it, after the show, we can talk about it more and I can tell you what's involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll put it to you this way. If you don't think you're ready for it, with everything that you need to do to change your life, because you will, if you can't make those changes, don't. If you don't think you can do this, don't. Because again, you're going to have to come out of the closet and let everybody know this is what you are. And if you can't handle that, and what I mean by handle that is, I was at the mall doing readings one day at this event, and this woman who was selling stuff down for me, a couple spots down from me, this Amish woman came up to me, and she said, "Do you talk to spirit? Do you communicate with spirit?" I said, "Yes, I do." And then she raised her hand up above her head and said, and yelled in the mall, "You are speaking to the devil!" And then went off on all the stuff. And how did I handle that? Like this. No, there's no such thing as a devil. There's no such place as hell. No such place as purgatory. There's no one walking around with horns and a tail torturing anyone, although there might be someone walking around with horns and a tail. But that's just because that's what he looks like where he comes from. But is there an actual devil? No. And then she, the more that I just kept calm like that, the angrier she got, till she turned red and had to and turned around and stomped her feet and walked away. You will learn that you have to be able to, or not have to get angry at someone else's anger.
You know,
because you just don't have to.
The first time that it was evident to me that spirit was communicating and that I was not of regular people, I was at the VA. And
I had an incident at the VA, but go ahead.
I was at the VA and I was helping this man in a wheelchair, and I was like, he was going from one place to another, and I was like, "Sir, you want me to push you?" And he was like, "I know who you are." And I was like, "You know who I am? What you talking about?" So I'm just pushing, not thinking nothing about it.
You're one of his people. That's right.
But he was like, "I know
just because
who
he's in a wheelchair doesn't mean nothing.
Right. And it really doesn't. Your physical limitations oftentimes can be what allows you to open your mind up to the other realm of life. So, but when he said it, it just caught me off guard because it just came out of nowhere. And then
he picked up on your energy because what the deal is. So when spirit sees us, when they see you, they see me. They see your body framed. We don't look solid to them, okay? And they see a light inside of you. That's your soul. They see that. And people like you and me have a light that's brighter than other people's. And they see that, and they know that we can communicate with them and they can communicate with us. But there are others like us who walk around who pick up on that. And he did.
He definitely was like, "I know who you are." And I was like, I was very naive at the time. So I was like, "You know who I am?" Like, "What you mean?" Like, "All right." And then he was in a zone for a second, and then he started being regular again. And it stuck with me clearly because
he was talking. He was having a conversation with his people talking about you.
That was probably about 20 or so years ago. So that is something that has always stuck with me. But I've always been privy with conversations with people that speak intensely. And I know, like, I get the chills, and it's like a trance-like state whenever spirit is communicating with me directly. And there are always incidents and occasions that I never ever forget. And it has been a little bit, it's difficult because it's so different and everybody isn't tapped in. Everybody doesn't know how to believe. But I definitely,
I mean, like you said earlier with intuition, everyone has intuition, but people don't always listen to their intuition, or they only want to listen to it for a certain amount because, it's something, I want to go buy a car or something. If they realized that if they got in touch with their intuition, what your intuition is, that's your soul. You're getting in touch with your soul and your spiritual guides. And if they listened to it all the time, things would happen easier for them in their lives all the time, but they just want what they want when they want it. So,
And it's crazy because I try to help people to understand how to fine tune, because religion tells you not to listen to your heart and not to trust yourself and all of these things. But
religion tells you, if you're a religious person, not to speak to a medium.
Right, that too. So I try to just allow people to understand that you have to allow God to really, like, if you're going to be open to God, then you really have to be open, and God is not going to do the things that you are comfortable with always. It's going to be outside of what you expect. And
You have to
people
open
don't,
yourself to it. If you don't
yeah.
want to keep yourself open to it, then those things are just not going to happen.
But like you
So
said, the
what
more
are you
you,
actually doing at that point? You're not listening. You're truly not listening to your soul, but you're
Mhm.
truly not listening to God. People want God to talk to them, but their lives are too busy for them to
can really
for
talk.
themselves to hear him.
The more
Because
you become in tune with your intuition and the spirit within and your soul, the more you're able to trust, because
correct.
now you are in alignment with what is purposed for you
Right.
versus just doing things sporadically. But a lot
Right.
of times,
You could stay on the alternative path, and the alternative path will still, you'll live a life and stuff like that, but you live on the correct path, and then things will become easier and you'll learn
mhm.
lessons quicker.
And not only that, it almost seems as though like the doors that are supposed to open, they will open with ease. And then you'll
Correct.
know the ones that they're not supposed to open, because you'll find yourself trying to force your way into
Correct.
places and spaces that you're not necessarily supposed to be. So talk about more of the things that you have learned and discovered on this journey and path.
Well, I have discovered that archangels are real. There's a difference between archangels and angels. There's the hierarchy is God, archangels, but archangels referred to as lesser angels because they just have less responsibility. Then you have spirit guide, then you have regular spirit, then you have us because our soul spirit is still within us. Then you have a low energy spirit too, and that's the ones who are just what I call earthbound. It's just another realm. It's just a low energy place. That's all. But I have learned there are such things as angels, and do regular people have angels with them? No, no. The only reason you would have an angel with you is because you're performing a specific task that God wants you to do, and you are aware of it. But do you need an angel's help to go buy a coffee at the store? No, you do not.
Right.
So you have your regular spirit guides who are with you, and that's who helps you make daily decisions. But again, it's about learning to listen, follow through, and to trust it and follow through. So, but if you're not doing that, it's not going to come as easy as it may for some people. Wonder that why is it so easy for that person? Because they listen, they trust it, and they follow through. That's why. So yeah, I've learned to do that, and that was a big thing. Learning that angels are real and archangels are real, and learning that there's no such thing as a devil or Satan. These are everything that's out there that you see these bad people they're doing it by the same way that you choose to go to the mall. They're just
Mm-hmm.
choosing to kill someone because that's what they think they need to do. But so that's free will because we all have it. So I learned that as well by just watching people, and because someone who is acting like a fool can choose to not act like a fool. But that's up to them to choose. I can't choose it for them. They have to want to choose that themselves. But there are negative energies out there as well, negative spirit who do talk to these people who are down on their luck as they think, or having a drug and alcohol problems and in a bad way, and they will speak to them and try to get them to do things for them because those negative energies like that because they want you to do bad things and feel bad so they can attach themselves to you and draw your negative energy off of them off of you so they can take it in themselves because that's how they survive in the realm that they're in. Now, not everyone who hasn't crossed over into the light is a negative energy sometimes because when you're going to wake up out of your body, you're going to get all the perfect memories of your lifetime here,
Mm-hmm.
especially like you've been here 28 times. I already know that too. So, because I asked earlier, I just didn't tell you I was doing it. But, but
Listen,
you
listen.
so you're
It's rare that I'm able to talk to people that are spiritually inclined when it comes to mediumship and spirit and all of that. So I am always eager and open to receive whatever spirit is telling you um as a message to me, because I know that I'm used for others. So there has to be people out there that can be
correct.
used to communicate to me.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. So you've been here 28 times. You're on number 28. You've had 27 other lifetimes, meaning you've had 27 other moms and dads, brothers and sisters, dogs and cats. Oh, yeah. You've had 27 other astrological signs. I mean, absolute horseshit, because it doesn't. You don't need to look at a newspaper article and say that's going to define your day. You're going to define your day by the choices that you make. So, yeah. But yeah,
How,
you've been here a bunch of times, and
how does
so
those previous lifetimes play into current life?
they don't. Because if your previous lifetime to the last one was so important, you would have fulfilled your purpose. You wouldn't be here now, because that's the reason you come back. You don't come back because you're being punished. The only person who punishes you is you by the choices that you make. And if you don't, but fulfilling your purpose is not becoming a doctor or a lawyer. That's a choice that you make as a profession. You're going to fulfill your purpose by doing one thing, being human. And your purpose is very simple. We are here to help each other just for the sake of helping. Not because you can, but because you should. But someone may come up to you and say, "Excuse me, miss, I'm lost. Can you help me find my way?" And you say, "Yeah, I got some time, sure. You know what? How you go this way?" And you go, "Well, how about this instead? I'll just get my car and you follow me, and I'll take you down the way because I got to go that way too." And then boom, and then when you help somebody, what's it do? You get them goosebumps. It feels good. Why? Because you're doing what you're supposed to do, because it is good. So that's your purpose. So yeah, we come here many times, but the problem is we fulfill our purpose throughout our lives, but not enough, because spirit, God, angels, they want us to do it a certain amount. Some people get it in quicker, some people don't, because we have lessons to learn, and maybe some of those lessons we learned are harder than others, and it takes us a long time to do it. But again, your previous lifetime to this one, obviously your lessons that you were supposed to learn were not hard enough, because you had to come back again. But what do you have in common with the other 7.5 billion on this world? They went to heaven and they had to come back just like you. So what does that make you and me and everyone else in this world? Equal. No one's better than anyone else. So anyone else who tries to treat you differently, that's them making a choice. That's their ego. That's something they learned how to have here, and they chose to stick to that. And that's their issue, not mine. So yeah. So what happens is you wake up out of your body, and you get all the memories of this lifetime, but you're going to get all the memories of all your 27 lifetimes, and you're going to know some of those lifetimes may have been really hard. And when you wake up and you see that light that's there for you to walk into, maybe you take a second guess and go, if I walk in there, I might have to come back again. And maybe you don't want to. So they don't. So a lot of them stay here. As many people that you think to cross over into heaven, there's that many that don't.
And it's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. That's all it is. Now, there are some horrible negative energies there, but not everyone is horrible. They just made a choice not to go. I used to have a girl that lived in my house back in Delaware. She's still there. She didn't come out here with me, but I have a few that did. But they're not going anywhere because there's no time and space. But she's 8 years old. Now, she's had many, many, many lifetimes and understands that she's had many, many lifetimes. But she just wanted to stay there. So she didn't want to cross over because she knows. Because what's going to happen is no one goes to heaven right away. You go to a holding place for two reasons. One, because 130,000 people die every day and you got to wait your freaking turn. And two, they're just going to go over your life with you and say, "Well, Dr. Kaci, you did this and this and this and this and this." And they're not going to call you Dr. Kaci because nobody has doctorates over there. So, and you did this, but maybe, well, we wanted you to do this other thing, but you didn't do it, so. And at that point, like your previous last time, they told you, "Well, you didn't get it done. You got to go back." And you were like, because you let go of all, when you get there, when the wanting to-ness and the willingness of walking through that light takes away all the pain, anger, sorrow, guilt, and anguish, all that stuff. And then you go back to that white light, loving soul. And then when you get there, you want to do good things. And they say you got to go back again. You go, "Awesome, man. I get to go back and drive some cars and stuff like that." Now, maybe, because you've been here 28 times, so not every time you've been here have you driven cars because there were none. Or not, or did you take a shower because there was no running water, stuff like that. So, So, like I said, some of those lifetimes were hard. I mean, there may have been a time when you had a really, really rough life, or maybe you were murdered in one of them and stuff like that. So,
Wait,
the
because
soul
I
doesn't
did a
feel
past
anything. It's
life
just the body.
I did a past life regression.
Did you? How'd that go for you?
It was interesting. After I got all the way to the stairs and all the way to the bottom, I saw myself like draped in I want to say like it wasn't like a gown, but like I can't even think of the proper wording. But I was an older lady. I had I think my husband had died or got killed, but I was an older lady and I was like a truth teller or a healer or something of that sort. And it was a very it was a good experience for me, although I do want to do it again, but it was good because I felt like I connected the dots for where I am now and where spirit has led me from within the realm of my soul.
You bring back some things from your previous lifetimes. I mean, like when we have deja vus and stuff like that. The deja vu is actually a memory. That's what it is, and you were just in that space at that time. But the thing, what does not come through is what they think is, oh, the pain and sorrow and grief. No, because when you leave here, you get washed away of all that stuff. When you come back, it doesn't automatically come back to you. It doesn't. So because it's already been washed away of each previous lifetime. So, but again, a lot of people do the past life regression because they want to do this. Oh, well, maybe I can find out if I was related to royalty and stuff like that. And then I say to them, oh, so you want to be related to someone who was stepping on the backs of people and murdering them all the time just for the sake of money? Do you think that's important to feel about? And they look at me and go, oh, yeah, I
Because
don't
that's what
know.
that is essentially. That's what
Yeah,
those
or
roles
they just
were.
want a cool story to tell somebody. But what you did in your previous lifetimes is what you were supposed to do then.
Mm-hmm.
What's important is what you do now, because what you did then obviously didn't get you a ticket to stay home.
Right.
You're working towards getting that golden ticket so you can go home and stay home. But God wants us to come here and learn things. Because when you learn everything, what you're learning is you're learning you're learning the human experience. You're learning your soul is learning what the body does. So your soul is the passenger and your body is the car. And the only reason you have that car is so that the soul can move around here in this physical world. But it's going to learn everything. But people don't understand, like, why did that person get cancer? Because the soul was here to learn about it. And the soul is going to learn things where the body's got a couple of choices to make. Well, what choices is it? Well, that body can either sit around with his thumb up his ass all day long and do nothing about it, or be proactive about it and try to do something about it. And people do something about it. And then when they do something about it, it could change the circumstances, but it won't change one thing.
Right.
Eventually, we're all going to die. I don't care what vaccine you take. You're all going to die. There's two rules in this world. As long as you follow them, comprehend them, you'll appreciate your life and everyone else's life around you. And rule number one is people die every day.
Right.
And rule number
There's no
two
way
is,
to avoid death
yeah.
in this
Number
thing
two
called
is you
life.
can't change rule number one. It's just when it's your time to go. It just is. But it's just going to happen. But it's not about that. It's about concentrating on what you do while you're here. Now, if you're walking around taking 1,000 selfies all day and putting it on Facebook, what you have at that point is a self-esteem problem. Go get that fixed because you're like a drug addict. Oh, I have to have everyone tell me how beautiful it is. And then 5 minutes later, it wears off and goes, oh, I got to do it again. No, you don't. You're
So
already beautiful. You're already wonderful.
what happens to the lessons that the soul learns in their earth experience in
You leave
each
here, you go back
lifetime?
home, you report them back home at that life review and tell them what you did and what you didn't do and all that stuff. And they say, well, you didn't learn those lessons quick enough because you have to learn them fast so you can get through them, so you can get to the places where you need to be in your life so you could help the people. And you didn't do that. So guess who has to go back again? Yeah. I mean, the
So
same way, like, I mean, with LBGTQ, with all that stuff, you can be all the gay that you want to be because in heaven you're allowed to love anybody that you want to. You're
right.
allowed to do that here too, but it's people who judge. God doesn't judge you. We judge ourselves 1,000 times a day. Why do you need to do it once more? Because he just doesn't. So, but what happened? But if you start changing parts, you're coming back. because you're
you
not
didn't
learning the lessons.
you were sent here for a lesson in the body that you received.
Absolutely.
And
And if you're
no
not
matter what
doing
you
it,
do to change it, you're
yeah,
still going to have to learn those lessons. You could avoid it. And that's what it seems on a
all they're
spiritual
doing is
level.
causing more drama.
It really does.
Yeah.
So, my interpretation of our traveling, the soul of us being put on earth is that prior to coming to earth and being born, we have a conversation with spirit, God, and we kind of get a reel of what life is supposed to be like. And then when we
Or could
come,
be like, yeah,
or could be like,
yeah,
because you have to make the decisions that align with what was shown to you prior to. But the only way you can really do that is by, once you're born, um one, if you're born into parents that actually nurture that, then great, nurture your spiritual alignment. But if you're not, your whole duty is to kind of remember what you were shown prior to being born, and
well,
then living that
what could
out.
have taken place is the parents you chose this time. You could have chosen shitty parents to see how you get through it, and maybe you get through it good. Because when you're in spirit, when you're a soul back home, because this is not home, when you're back home, you're hoping that I'm going to do good. I'm going to get through it this time, so I can come back and stay back. So I'll go through some shit this time, and hopefully I'll make better decisions. Hopefully the body I'm in will make better decisions to do that. But then sometimes the world just comes at you and just and pushes you,
It bombards.
up against the wall, and you just can't get moving.
So how does the planets and the universe come into play with the soul realm?
The planets don't. But planets are just, physical things. That's all. You are a non-physical being inside of a physical being.
Right.
So the planets, the stars, and all that stuff. That's why I say astrology is absolute bullcrap. I mean, here's astrology. You ready? Here's the big epiphany. There's a bunch of people standing around going, "Hey, look up at those things. Wow. Hey, if I play connect the dots, that makes a fish. Holy crap! Let's put those fish together with like months, because the very first calendar was only 5 months
Right.
long, so there was only 5 signs, and then they added 4 more months that made it 9 months. So then they added 4 more signs, and then it made 10 months. They added one more, and they made it 12 months and added two more. So what's that mean? They made it up.
Right.
So what is it?
Basically.
Because your body is born under the stars because it's just born. But if you were born on Pluto and you were on the opposite end of Pluto on the other side of that, and you looked up at the stars, would you see the same stars that look like fish? No, you wouldn't.
Right, because it's a different atmosphere of sorts in
Right.
the space.
Because the soul was not born, the soul was created. It's put into a body just to be here. So are we supposed to be walking around worshiping what stars we were born under? And I'm not going to make any movement today until it says everything's lined up. No,
Right, right.
you
Well,
align yourself.
I don't take too much into like the retrograde and all of that,
I don't
because
mess with any of it.
uh this is
I
my
feel good or I don't.
right, right. Because if you know, like, this is what I use astrology for. When I see a horoscope or when I see a sign and it tells you that these are the common characteristics of people born in this time, or especially the negative ones, I normally go and say, well, if it says that I'm supposed to be this way, then I am going to work on those things. So
Right.
those things are not a negative, because they don't have to be negative. Is you accepting and choosing to allow those characteristics to be negative.
Right. And who is that? That is they again, convincing you that you should follow what we tell you to do. And people do it all the time.
Right, 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 right,
You know what I think? I think they need to shut the hell up. That's what
right.
I think. Because they're ridiculous. Because they want us to follow everything they tell us to do. Because that way we stay under their thumb. I mean, I hate to put it in this way, but I will. But everyone in this world, as following society, the movie stars and all this stuff, We are all slaves to this world. Everyone. Doesn't make a difference what race or creed or color or any of that.
Hi, I'm Kaci, Dr. Kaci. Welcome to Speaking Freedom. We are happy to have you, and we hope that we're able to help you in every way possible. Have a good evening.
So as long as you follow them and you do everything that they tell you to do, and you go to doctors because the world's telling you to go to doctors and do, you're a slave. I don't care what you want to call it, but you're a slave.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
I definitely.
And where did that come from? That came from religion. Because those were the people who wanted to tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it and give them 10%. They ruled everybody. We still have it today. Now we call it government. They tell us what to do and we follow along with it.
And we pay taxes and all these other fees that are basically, we're paying to live on a place that God gave us to live for free.
Right.
To experience.
Yeah, we had that holiday back on the 4th of July. You know, we got away from a tyrannical government to start our own tyrannical government. We didn't want to live under their rules, so we made our own rules, apparently.
I mean,
we live under the same rules.
It's so crazy because when I think about the way countries are formed, especially when you think about America within itself and how we are free and got our independence, but we still really aren't. We really hang on.
I mean, how is this country formed? Well, a bunch of people from England came over here and then saw all these people running around. They called themselves Indians. They didn't call themselves anything. We just called, and we called them savages, indigenous people. Now it's Indigenous People Day instead of whatever, instead of what's his name?
Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. Now it's Indigenous People Day. And what did we do here? Oh, we conquered, we murdered, we did everything we could to steal it away from them. Why do we go to other countries now?
The same reason.
Same thing.
Yeah, I used to, as a military veteran, what I know is that whenever we invade a country, we're there forever. We're never leaving. There will always be some type of shop there. And even if they say they pulled out, they ain't pull out. It's like a man saying they pull out when they having sex. It's still some pre-cum there, okay?
That's right. Yeah, what are we doing over in Haiti right now? We're screwing that place up too. We put the government in, and then everyone's going against the government. But and they want us to help them go against the government, but we were the ones who actually put that government in. So we're not really doing anything for the people. We're doing it for control.
It's very depressing in the sense of the way that the world is ran and monetized and used for personal gain versus development and understanding. So earlier I saw a post and there was a lady in a church atmosphere who was being spoken to and a demon being casted out of her.
No such thing as demons.
Right.
They want you to believe that, and they want you to believe they can cast it out of you. Why do they want you to do that? So that they know that you'll be part of their flock, and they'll help you for the rest of your life. You know what the bad part about that is? We were called the flock a long time ago, so they referred to us as sheep, and now they call us the herd mentality. So now they call us cattle. So again, they need to shut the hell up.
When I saw the post, and I have experience where I've been in a church and I see people basically kind of physically lose control of themselves and seem to be where they're possessed or something else is.
I see people do the same thing, that they lose control of themselves and all that stuff when they go to a Megadeth concert.
Well, no, listen. So
you get into it. You're like, oh,
and you get wrapped up in it. So when I made a comment on the post, what I stated was that, you know, sometimes those, I think that things, spirit, really it's a really a emotional attachment to your soul that you're trying to get loose from. And because when you feel anger, when you feel pain or hurt,
you choose that. Sure.
And you because you're not, when people don't release, like they don't cry it out, they don't express those emotions outward, they attach to your soul, and those emotional attachments don't want to let go of your soul and being a part of you. So when you see people going through those exorcism type of responses, it's really that emotional attachment pulling away from your soul and having less control, like you taking your soul and your purpose back for really for the most part,
But who
because
caused that emotional problem? You
it's
did.
yeah, it's the acceptance of whatever those issues are, where
Right.
but the
Because
thing is,
if you're going through depression, what are those depressive feelings? The only reason you have those depressive feelings is because what you're saying, you haven't learned to let it go.
mhm,
If you learn to let it go, you don't need to go to a doctor. Doctor's going to do one or two things. He's going to give you some pills
mhm.
to suppress that, or he's going to send you to a specialist who's going to talk you down from it. You know what you could do? Talk yourself down from it.
Right. See,
You
but
learn to
most
let it
people
go,
don't
man.
want to address the
No, they don't want
hard
to do it.
things in life, and
They want
that's
to use it
why.
as a crutch for the rest of their lives so they can be a victim.
And people like to be victims.
They sure do because it gives them attention. So what does that
Hmm.
really make them? It makes them an attention whore.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
definitely
So
agree.
maybe going to church and maybe feeling what they think is Jesus coming into their hearts and releasing them. No, it's all about, Jesus can say it all he wants to, but if you choose not to let it go, so again, it's about opening up and learning to let it go.
Well,
You
I
need
call that
you,
Christian denial in the church world, because it's like you get saved and then you with the magic Jesus wand, and as soon as you hit that Jesus wand, everything is just, oh, nothing is ever wrong and I'm
and what are you
perfect.
being saved from? You're being saved from
Hmm.
your self decisions that you made throughout your life. You decided to, you're a football player and all of a sudden you make a lot of money. Now you decided to do a lot of cocaine and be with a lot of hookers and all that stuff.
And that's a choice.
Oh, I want to get away from that. I found Jesus. Well, first thing, I didn't know Jesus was lost. And
Right.
second go, until you open yourself up to letting it go, you don't even have to go to Jesus for that. You could just say, I want to stop doing this. But most people don't do that. These famous football players don't do it for one reason, because they don't want to go to jail
Right.
because they got caught doing something they weren't supposed to do. So now they found God, or they go to jail and they said, I found God. I didn't know God was hanging out in jail, but he's everywhere. So,
Or that God was lost, because if God is truly within you because of your soul, then it's really just a matter of tuning into who you are
correct.
internally. And a
Correct.
lot
And
of
you can
people
do that
struggle with that.
before. You can do
Hmm.
that on your own without having to go to jail for it, or having to go to church and be saved for it, or have them dunk you in that pool of water again that they say is blessed water, because it's not.
Really, yeah. Look, I got baptized in a swimming pool. It was a regular old swimming pool at a hotel. It wasn't nothing special about it other than they prayed over it and did some spiritual things.
Well, it
But
probably cleaned your skin real good because it had a high content of chlorine, but
I always
it dried
say,
your hair out though.
right. I always say that the energy that is felt in churches, it's real, but it's a matter of the energetic force of all the people that's in there that
Right.
contributes to the energy that people feel. And that is what the leaders of the church and the people that stand up in the front, they feed on that.
I'll tell you what else they feed on there is all the negativity that's in the church too. I see negative energies in churches, around churches all the time. Why? Because everyone else who walks into church who has that cool dress on and has that big giant hat on is trying to prove to each other that I'm a better Christian than you are.
Hmm.
And when they're
Hmm.
doing that, then it's all negative energy.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bunch of bullshit is what it is. It's it's
Right.
a it's a show, it's a beauty contest for example, or look at my big giant hat, look how sparkly it is. And then they gotta, oh well, she got a big sparkly hat too. And now they gotta get a bigger one with a more no.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
don't have to do anything. I mean, the power of God is not within the building, it's within the people who are within the building. So if it's within the people, then do you really need to be inside that building? No, you
No,
don't. You
what
actually, yeah, everyone actually has a part of us in our DNA that has God in it. You won't hear about it because they can't understand it, but it's called junk DNA. They
hmm
call it junk DNA because they had no idea what it does and what it does for us.
and how to use it.
That's God. That's what it is. Right.
I always say the pandemic really showed us the truth of religion if people were willing to really look at it, because a lot
Yeah.
of people willingly have blinders on and
Yeah.
they ignore the reality of life the reality of spirit and God and
Yeah.
just everything.
So I'll tell you the truth of why Jesus was actually here. Jesus did not die for your sins because no one sins, because you and I were, like everyone else, was created by God from a part of him, which makes your soul a divine soul, because everyone's a divine soul, not just Jesus. But the Bible and religion wants you to believe it's just him so they can use his name and God's name to have control and power over you. But the real reason Jesus came here was to let everybody know that we could all take care of each other. We could treat each other good. We could share everything in the world because there's enough of everything in this world to share, and we wouldn't have to live under the power and control of those people who want to do that. So we could live as free men as women and take care of each other. But literally, if you're sick, I'll become a doctor so I can help you, and maybe you can, give me some food or something like that back and forth. It's like a bartering
Like
type
a
system, right?
bartering.
Yeah, Jesus was trying to do that, but the people who were in power and control, the kings and queens, and religion, because they don't want to tell you that they saw that happen and they said, "Hey, we can't have this guy out on the streets."
Yeah, and
Look
that
what
was
he's
the real,
doing.
and I try to tell people that because
Taking
a
our
lot of
people away
people
from us.
a lot of people enjoy arguing and debating about Jesus dying for our sins, but
No,
he
didn't
was
happen.
literally killed by the same people that y'all are in the
Yes,
church
and
with. Like he
he
wasn't
died
killed
for
by the
being
people on
one
the
thing.
street.
Yeah, he died for being a free thinker is what he did.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
then the people who saw him in control said, we can't have this. He's taking our taxes, he's taking our money away. He's taking people away from, he's leading them away from us. And so we can't have that. So they put him on a cross and they tortured the shit out of him and murdered him in front of everybody to let you know, if you do what he's doing,
If you,
if you follow what
hmm
he's doing, we're going to do that to you too. Because he was not the first one to be on the cross, nor was he
was he the
the
last?
last
And
one.
I always say all of the prophets of the Bible and just in general, there are many prophets in this world. There are many people that is purposed by God to teach us and show us different things. And
Yeah.
Jesus' purpose was really to show us the possibilities of our own souls that can be
Yes.
carried out. And the things that we
Yes.
would do from his example would allow us to go further and be more spiritually aligned to do more things, but
And
people don't want to hear that.
why could he heal people? Why could he make things happen? Because his soul was only here one time and he was in touch with it. And he was trying to get everyone else to be in touch with it too. So, I mean, that's why I tell people all the time, why do you want to wear a cross around your neck? And they say, why, what do you mean by that? And I said, because the cross is a form of punishment. Why do you want to wear a form of punishment? Because they want you to wear it for one reason, not to remind you of Jesus or what he did for you. They want to remind you of how much control and power they have over you.
And
That's
how
what
he
they
was
want.
killed and all of that. That's what that
Yeah.
is.
They
And
have it
it's a
instilled in
mind
everybody.
control. Learning psychology was one of the best things that I could have done because it really opened my eyes and my mind to the truth of how the world works in the midst of mind control and
Absolutely.
the purpose of religion and the leaders wanting you to just follow along, because if you're mindless, if you don't use the ability to connect within your soul, then you're just a pawn, and they want pawns.
Yeah, they don't want you to be in connection with your soul, because if you're really connected to your soul, you can learn how to heal ourselves and we could take care of ourselves and we would think different. We wouldn't be out there judging anybody and all that stuff because they teach us to do that. So yeah,
Hmm.
we wouldn't do anything. And if we were not doing any of that stuff, we wouldn't be following them and we wouldn't be living under their rules and we could do whatever we wanted to. But we don't, because why? Because we relinquished the power over to them a long time ago. What we need to do is take the power back.
So, if there was anything about your life that you could change, is there anything that you would change?
No, because if I did, I wouldn't be where I need to be now.
Hmm. I agree.
And yeah, I mean, I had to be on the journey that I was on to get where I am now. So that's why I tell people there's no mistakes, there's no right and wrong, there's no epic failures, there's none of that stuff. No one fails at anything.
It's
There's
just
only
you
what
following
works
the
for you
path.
and yeah, what
Hmm.
works and what doesn't work. And you're going to go through some things that don't work for you sometimes in order to find out what does work. And the perfect example for that is if you walk through a door and there's a nail in the floor and you trip over the nail, how do you learn that lesson? Well, you pick up a hammer and you bang that nail in and you can walk through that doorway freely the rest of your life. But not everybody does that. Some people continue to trip over that nail 4 or 5 times or the rest of their lives. I know those people. I used to work around them. It was called prison. Those people have just not learned that they are not good criminals, and they keep doing it over and over and over again.
And that's the cycle and it's a cycle that they can break if they change their
If they
behavior
chose to,
patterns.
but the world doesn't want them to believe that.
That they can choose that.
Yeah, doesn't want them to think that they could actually change their path, and do something more with your life. But they don't want you to do that because the jail system and all that makes money off of people who are in prison because they get paid from the states and money and governments and all that to do it. So
it's profitable for you to be
Sure
unattached to your soul and
Sure
to
is.
be mindless and clueless to the spiritual wherewithal of the earth.
Yeah, because they say those institutions are correctional systems that they don't correct any of them. They don't teach them. They teach them a little bit of skill here and there, but what they take so much away from them that when they put them back out in society doesn't want anything to do with them because they've been in there for so long. There had to be a reason you were in there. They don't want you working at their place. So, and if they do have you work at their place, you're going to work for a lot less because you screwed up.
So
Or did you?
how does your gift affect your family dynamic?
Well, I don't talk to my sister anymore because my sister's a piece of crap. But because she has a little bit of this too, but she's so negative, I just can't be around that anymore. I have two brothers and I have other cousins and stuff like that. I don't know if they are very aware of that I have this, but I don't hide it from anyone. So they either see it or they either accept it or they don't. And if they don't, I don't give a shit because I have to be me. I can only be me, As I always tell people, I can only tell the truth one way. I can't tell it 50 ways until one way suits you. So, I'm just going to say what I say. And if you don't like it, if I say something and it offends you, I just know that I don't need to give a crap about it because eventually you'll go away.
Right.
So, but with my family, I mean, I talk to my two brothers and they know I have this but do we really talk about it? Not much, not really. My wife is also a very strong empath and she gets some messages, but she doesn't get what I get, but she's my support system with this. So that works very well for her and I all the time. But like I said, I don't talk to my sister, but that's because I learned to let that go. I don't need her negativity nor her constant negativity in my life. So I just said, oh, really? Oh, okay. Click. Done.
The more you grow spiritually, the easier it is to let go of people that
Yeah.
really don't truly align with your soul because
you don't have to put up with them. There's nothing in a book or a book of rules that says you have to talk to your mom and dad or your brother or sister. If they're being a piece of crap to you and people say, well, but they're your brother or sister, you got to have some. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't have to have them in your life. And the only reason they come back into your life is because you allowed it to happen. So you can't blame them for being a piece of crap again. You blame
especially
yourself.
if they don't change the way that they treat you and the behavior patterns that created whatever tension resides there.
Yeah, I learned. I know who my sister is, and I have accepted her for that. But that doesn't mean I need to accept her into my life. So I just don't.
I agree. I agree. I know that I've found that clairvoyance runs in my family as well, and
well, they have. So the way that works is it comes through with your soul. And because, like, again, so your mom and dad is not really your mom and dad. They just created the body. They didn't create the soul. So it's just the soul coming you come into the same family circle every single time. And you have it every single time you come here. Sometimes you wake up with it. Sometimes you don't. And then some other people in your family have it as well. Again, each soul is collectively all is one is all because we all come from the same place. That's the soul family. But you are sent here for your journey, your path, but they are around you, and because we call them family, because we were born in the same mom and dad, uncles, brothers, sisters, all that stuff. But it's just them having it too. Some of them wake up and have it, some of them don't. But yeah, it's just, your son has it because your son has it. It has nothing to do with you. That's just because it has to do with his soul being here. But you could work together without it. That's for sure. But,
I always felt like it was kind of hereditary because my grandmother, she was a very powerful soul herself. I mean, the things that I've learned about her since her passing has been very intriguing and encouraging.
Let me put it to you this way. The last time you were here, your grandmother was your sister.
Really? I can
Yes,
imagine.
really. So does it have to do with your grandmother and then you pass on? No. You just either in this, as I explained it, to be this, you can be intuitive all you want. Anyone can do that by listening to their soul. But can you just automatically go to an intuition class and then all of a sudden you think, okay, now I'm going to be a spirit medium? No. No, you either have this or you don't. There are a lot of people who are intrigued by it, or they go, or oh, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do. No, if it's not meant for your soul, or if your soul doesn't have it already, it's not going to happen to her. I don't care how many classes you take. You can go to school for it and all that stuff and get some type of degree. And oh, I'm I'm
Metaphysical.
under
Yeah.
these masters and all this. No, masters. There are no ascended masters. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Right,
Okay,
right.
because spirit believes they're all equal. Just if I know more than you, I just do, just like
Yeah.
we do here. If I know more than you, but we like to use these terms as masters and stuff like that again for power and control.
Right.
But yeah, you just have it because you do. But can you go to school and get a degree and become a medium? No.
No, I
You can
mean,
help
they can
and
only
develop
teach
it.
you to develop, what's
Yes,
already
but
within
you
you.
already
But
have to have it in order
mhm,
to develop it. And if you don't have it, I knew a girl who did a reading with me one time. Her life was out of control, off the hook, off the chain, and she couldn't get her life together. And then she went to after I did the reading with her 6 months later, she went to an intuition class and started calling herself a psychic medium. No, she
see, and
doesn't
this
have
is the
anything.
reason why I don't do readings and other things like that. And it's very perplexing for me to even try to charge for what I believe is a gift that I don't just turn it on. It doesn't just come on because somebody pays me. It's something that either I feel it about you or I don't.
Right, because everybody wants that wow moment. Not
Hmm.
everybody gets that wow moment. They just don't because they don't have a wow moment that they need. But, I do readings for people and they ask me questions and because one of my main gifts is I cross spirit over into the light, and they ask me questions sometimes. If a dog asks me a question, I hear it as English. I just because I have something different. But because I know people who talk to spirit and sometimes they'll talk to them in Spanish or something like that, and they can't understand it. I understand everything because I cross them over into the light. But so they asked me a question. I asked archangels a question. They gave me the answer. I give it back to them. And because I can do it for spirit, I can do it for anybody
Right.
because we're all souls.
Right.
Because you are a soul. You don't have a soul. You
Right.
are a soul. What you have is this meat suit. You have this body.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
So, I want to ask you about your books and your podcast a little bit before we get ready to get out of
Oh
here.
boy. Yeah. What do you want to know?
So you have books and a
Just
podcast. Please
one.
just
I,
tell
I,
us
I have
about it.
I have one book that's right behind me. This is it right here. So that's it right there. It's called Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. And see that man walking into the bright white light? That's me. Okay. And what that's about is my whole story about how everything happened to me and for me, because it happened for me for a reason, to be this. But it's a chronological story about all the instances. I mean, there's a lot of them, but these real big ones, I put all that stuff in there. And then there's some of my favorite readings that I've done in there as well. But then at the very end, chapter 12, which I call the basics, these are channeled messages that are brought to me by archangels because this is what God wants us to know, and this is what God wants us to do. The funny part about that is when I submitted everything to the editor for this book, I gave her that last chapter, and she sent it right back and said it doesn't need to be edited. And I said because it came from a perfect place, it didn't come from me. I actually did an author's read thing here in town, and the lady teaches writing in college here, and she said when you read the book and then you read that last chapter, it's like two different people wrote the book.
Really?
And I was like, yeah, because I didn't write that last part. I just put it to paper. That's all.
Right.
But yeah, it's like 138 pages long.
So where do we
But
find
there's
it?
20. You can find it on Amazon. You can just go to Amazon and then in the search bar, put Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. Just put that in there. It'll come right up. You'll see that picture. And the new beginning is not about me. The new beginning is actually about everyone else.
I mean, it's a guide because there is a book when I first started to accept the fact that I have
That you
visions
are who
and
you really are, and then not the person that everyone else says you are.
when I really started to accept it, there was a book. I would reach over there and get it, but it'd take me a second to find it. Well, not really. So there was a book that I read that made me feel more comfortable with accepting. And then I started reading other books that helped me understand and learn things that resonated with my soul already. It
You
wasn't like
read
they were
this
teaching
book
me
and you're going
something
to see
new.
how much shit that I went through, and you're going to go, "Oh my gosh, okay,
Listen,
I'm not so
I've
bad."
listen, I've gone through a lot already in my life. So, in me wanting to, because I do ask God to allow me to deal with spirit more and to even the souls that are here that are around me, if there's something that I'm supposed to do, that I want to be used. I really do want to be used in whatever way God allows to be used. And my agreement with God is I'll do whatever God wants me to do as long as God takes care of me and I'm allowed to enjoy the journey of hit my purpose. So
Correct.
it is just really a matter of
Because that's what you would be doing, fulfilling your purpose. I mean, you fulfill your purpose now, but in the same way, but you'd be doing it more in that way because you're helping people. You're helping them. They come to you for answers, and you give them the answers, and it helps them to again give them peace, some clarity, and some direction in their lives, so they can get away from all that other stuff. And when you do that, man, you're punching.
hello, it froze up a little bit.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, just a
Did it
little
freeze
bit.
up on you? Oh,
Hmm.
so when if you were to do this, then that would help you more punching that golden ticket so you could go home and stay home.
Well, I don't know if I want to go home and stay home. I kind of like Earth a little bit. Well, no, it's
Oh,
ghetto.
I
I
mean,
don't really like
you'll
Earth.
eventually get there, but I'll tell you one thing. I will tell you right now, and I tell people to do this all the time, fulfill that purpose because
So,
you don't want to come back the next time.
right
You don't want to go. You don't want to be here
before
because it's going to be bad.
before we go, I would like for you to do a reading. I want you to tell me what spirit and archangels have been telling you since we've been here having this conversation.
That you need to move forward and you need to step out of that 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And you need to have that talk with God because you need to move forward because you need to be this because you're just not doing it. And you
How
could be.
how do
You
I move
and
forward?
I know you say you would have a problem with charging, but the reason why I don't charge that much. I mean, when I started out charging people nothing in the beginning, and then I went to like $50. Now if they come and get a reading with me in person, it's $150. But I've had some of those readings go for 3, 4 hours. Now,
Mhm.
do I get paid for that extra time that I'm there? No, but I don't care. That's just me because I'm just there to help them get the information that they need to give them that peace, that clarity, that direction in their lives. Because when anyone gets a reading with me, they get it. But here's the thing: being this, especially being me, and what I do, people come to me because they want an answer from God. I get it, but they don't always like it
Mhm.
because they don't like the truth. That's why. Because it doesn't fit into their lifestyle. It doesn't fit into the way that they want to do things. I give them answers that are going to have to change their lives. Not everybody can deal with that.
What
Out of all the people that I do those readings for, I'd say about 10% of those people actually move forward with it. The other people just don't because it doesn't fit into their egotistical piece of shit bullshit life. So,
right. What
but
I
that's on them.
heard
But I'm still providing the answers
what
because
I heard
again,
within
you know,
is that the financial exchange
has
is
nothing to
kind
do
of allowing it's kind of their way of saying that they're open to receiving, that they really want
it.
to receive.
If your car breaks down and stuff like that, what do? You take it to the professional. I'm the professional, but so are
Right,
you.
right,
You could
right.
be the same thing. Now you may not do it the same way that I do
Right.
it. You may get answers differently than I do, but you'll still get answers, and it'll be for the way that it works for you. That's all.
You know, I get a lot of what I feel the most or what I have experienced thus far is I am able to um feel and predict quote unquote babies a lot. I can normally know when
Might be your
somebody's
thing.
pregnant sometimes before they know
Yeah,
they're pregnant. And all of the babies that I've seen prior to them being born are all genius type of, I mean, like this is the reason why I felt you before you got here, because your spirit, your soul is so strong
you're
to
connecting
where
with it.
it was calling out to me before you even were born. And that's what I see the most. So I am
But I'll tell you
always
something I bet you don't even realize.
what
The soul does not come into the baby until the baby actually leaves the body and comes out.
and has his
So
own body.
when you're connecting to that soul's still home.
Mm, that's interesting
So that means you're connecting on a higher level.
than what I can fathom at this point.
Correct. So you're talking to souls that are home in heaven.
So what about when I see like shadows and things like within my home, or when
What
I'm
color is your shadow?
my shadow?
Yeah, when you go outside and you have a shadow, what color is it? It's
It's
dark, right?
dark. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's mine. You know what else is? Theirs. You know why it's dark?
It's a
Because
shadow.
they don't know you yet. They haven't been
Mhm.
able to learn to trust you yet. When they trust you, because as I tell everybody, there are gazillions of spirit out there. Some of them want to be seen, most of them don't.
So,
But
yeah.
the ones who do want to be seen, they have to learn to trust you. And when they know that they can trust you, then they will show themselves to you. And then at that point, then you'll learn to communicate with them.
Now, before I had a cousin that passed away. Well, I had two cousins that I personally knew or were close to that passed away since the pandemic.
Yeah,
One,
they both crossed over. See,
one I
I can find that
saw,
information out.
one I saw in my living room in a jersey, like, and it was 2 days before he was found dead. And it was like I knew what I saw, but it kind of shocked me because I was sometimes when I see spirit or souls, I am kind of like, well, wait, well, why you what you want? Like, I'm not sure of why their
Because
presence.
like I'm telling you, like I am, you're the guy. They know that you can do this because where they are, they're very aware.
Hmm.
And they know that you can do this. So they may have a message for you that you can bring to other people. Maybe bring some comfort to other people. But you just have to learn how to talk to them.
Right,
Because when you talk to them, what we would call telepathy. Because
right,
it may feel like you're hearing it out here, but you're not. You're hearing it inside, but you're not even. It's not in your brain. Your brain
right.
has nothing to do with anything. Your
It's
brain makes the little
inside.
parts work. Your soul is picking up. But that's how, like in the same situation where you think about somebody and the next thing you know, they call you on the telephone.
Oh no, like I can
Where did he go?
literally I think, and I'm saying I think because the way that I can uh project, and
Correct. That's what you're doing.
I can feel the energy leaving my body if I'm thinking about somebody, and I literally will make them gravitate towards me. Like, I've done it on purpose. Like, I'm gonna think about this person and then they will literally pop up in one shape, form, or fashion. But I've been in a state where I'm half sleep, half woke, and I can hear the voices like, oh my gosh, she sees us. And I've literally
Correct.
seen like the spirits in my house, and it sounds
Correct.
I'm getting chills just
Yeah,
talking
you
about
open
it.
yourself. I've done it where I stood in a circle of people and I wanted this woman next to me to feel it. So I made it happen. And she was literally sitting, holding my hand. She went like this. And I just looked at her and smiled.
Listen,
And she was like, I got to have a reading with you later. I said, that's why I wanted you to do it.
it was definitely an experience. I had a vision once. It was like I was asleep, but I wasn't asleep, but it was like I was inside of myself looking out at the world from like The best description of it would be, have you seen that movie Little Dave? Or it's a movie where Eddie Murphy becomes a really small person and he's living inside of, like, it that's how it felt when I was looking out. But it was, I knew it was bigger. I want to say bigger than me or deeper than me,
Right,
because it
because
was
you are bigger than you. Your soul is bigger than you. You're just in
way
this body
bigger.
right now, but you could make that happen, but not everybody just does.
Right. So what are
Mm.
your final words? What is the advice that you would give to the listeners?
The biggest one, when someone walks up to you and you're about to look at them and you're about to judge them because you don't like the clothes that they're wearing, or you don't like the way their hair looks, or you think their nails are looking janky or something like that, or you don't like their shoes. Before you do that, before you open your mouth, I want you to take a self inventory of yourself and think about all the bullshit you've been through in your entire life. And then you look back at that person and you think to yourself, maybe they're going through some bullshit too. Maybe they're just having a bad day. And then you bite your freaking tongue and then you walk away and you shut your mouth because you don't have the right to do it, because you don't want anybody else doing it to you. So why do you feel like you have the right to do it to someone else? Don't, because you don't. And let it go.
I
Or
think
walk up to that person and say, hi, how are you? And maybe change their attitude, because we spend so much time avoiding each other. You walk through a doorway and you see somebody in front of you and they start doing this, they start doing, and what are they
mhm,
trying to do? They're trying to figure out, how can I get past this person without saying anything? Why don't you just
mhm.
say hello to them? Maybe it'll change somebody's day.
I think one of the most favorite parts of this interaction that we're having is that you've said things that I say all of the time, but we've never had a conversation for us to say, you know what, this is how I feel. And, to interpret that.
Because people are afraid to do that.
Hmm.
Why are they? Because the world taught you not to do that. I mean, especially in 2020,
Right.
social distancing. I mean, we have, they have Facebook and all that stuff, but what do people do? They stand there, and you got 20 kids sitting around with looking on their phones. And are they talking to anybody? No.
Nope.
They teach them not to do that anymore. And then what do you do after that? Well, if I have a disagreement with somebody, I'll just pick up a gun and kill you, because that's the answer.
Right. And,
Hmm.
and it's so crazy because right now people are so on edge from the isolation
Yeah,
and the lack of communication, and just really not being able to tap into their souls, and then they
right.
get frustrated and they take their personal frustration within
Out on
themselves
other people.
out on other people. And it is really, eye-opening as a person who is in touch with my soul, and very I feel like no matter what's going on in the world around me, I am in a good space because I accept who I am and
Correct.
what life has
Yeah.
dealt with for me.
Everything else, learn to let that shit go, because it ain't
Hmm.
important. It's just
I
not.
agree. Do you have a website?
I do. They want to get a reading with me, or they themselves feel that they have this ability. I have lots of people who come to me who have this ability, and I do readings for them. But what it is I give them what I call the big talk, to see if they're going to move forward with this or not. But even if they don't feel, even if they just feel they have it a little bit and not sure about getting a reading, but I have a website. It's www.spiritmediumdaniel.com, and they can book a reading with me there. Or if they just feel they have one or not sure what they can do with that, they can also book a telephone call with me. And as soon as I see that on my computer in their name, I know if they have it or not.
Mhm.
Like with you, like when I said earlier, when you said something, and I said something back to you, and you were just going on, I said, how'd you think I knew that? Because I
Mhm.
already knew. So,
Well, I want to know. I don't think that the only thing that spirit and the angels have told you is for me to make a decision and talk to God. I think that there is more there, and I am going to stop this recording and end the show so I can hear
yes, because
everything.
there's something that you have with you. Let me check again, just making sure, that puts you in a different space than just regular mediums.
Well, And that we're ending the show because I want to hear more off the air. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because I can't tell. I don't tell this to everybody. I don't tell it to regular people. I don't tell it to. I
Well,
give it.
it's some
Some
things
people
that's
come to
just
me.
not for the world. Some things are a personal experience.
Correct.
So even if I was to stop the show, when I stopped the show and I recorded it, it would be the second recording would be for me to be able to go back and reflect and have an understanding to move forward with.
Correct. Because you're going to need to.
Oh
Because
yeah, I definitely.
what I'm going to tell you is so much. That's why I say when some people come to me and get a reading, it's because they have this and they want to know how to move forward with it. And that's why I have to give them what I call the big
The
talk.
big talk. I need
And
the big talk.
You need the big talk.
I do. I know I do.
Yes, because you're something more that you don't have no idea. But once I tell it to you, then you're going to pick up on some of it and go, okay. But it's
And
up to you to decide
I'm ready to
what you're gonna do
receive.
with
I've
it.
been praying for a long time for I want to say for this moment because I believe that there is something that is necessary that will happen as soon as the show is over. So folks, that is all.
Peace
This
out. Be
is
good. Don't do any stupid shit.
yeah, this is Daniel, and Daniel, I really enjoy having you on the show. I can't wait to talk to you after the show. If you've enjoyed this video, like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. New episode every Friday.